All right, let's return to our top story. Postbank has told us that all grant recipients have now received their payouts after, of course, delays caused by technical glitches. Let's bring in Dr. Bongani Debacle, who speaks for Postbank. Dr. Debacle, thank you so much for joining us. I'm not sure if you heard the interview I did with our reporter, Hloniam Timkulu. She was back outside some of the post offices today, and while she said there weren't any queues anymore, there were still people who were telling her that they've gone inside, they've asked for their money, and they were told, oh no, you can't access your money right now, there's a problem, maybe go and try at a retail outlet. Talk to me about why this mismatch. Clearly, from your side as Postbank, you feel you've done everything to put everything in place, which is why you've sent out the press briefing a little earlier today. But on the ground, there are still some people who say they're not getting their money. What do you think is going on in the system that's causing this mismatch?
Yeah, no, good evening, Sally, and thank you for having us. Yes, certainly we can confirm that we've made all the payments to the affected beneficiaries according to our records. We haven't gotten a feel of what Hloni was speaking about, unfortunately. There could potentially be a mismatch, Sally, given that the post office is just but one of our channels for the grants payments. The retailers and the ATMs are available for beneficiaries to collect the money. So we do bankroll the post office with the grants funds in advance, and they use historical data to order the money. So the potential mismatch here could be that at the point when we had the glitches, obviously many beneficiaries, because there's still an association between us and the post office, given where we come from, may have ran to the post office to get assistance, and that potentially could be the result of the mismatch in terms of the money that is in the branch and the number of beneficiaries that are coming forward. But we'd like to be provided the specifics, Sally, so that we can address the issue. I chatted on the side with Bongani. I understand Hloni was in the Lenasia area, and I've since escalated that matter with our guys that are dealing with the funds transfers.
It does tend to highlight the issue, though, that you're trying to fix things on your end, but it doesn't seem like the lines of communication are getting through to the people on the ground who meant to be administering, because people have been sent from pillar to post, and even employees in Postbank don't always seem to know where people should go. And all of this is happening to people who have some form of disadvantage or, problem, either a disability or they're quite elderly and it's difficult to get around. What advice do you have for someone who's gone to perhaps a post office today and still hasn't got their money? What must they do?
Well, yeah, certainly, Sally. The post office and Postbank are currently separate entities, so we operate separate balance sheets, separate management teams. So you would imagine when you have a challenge similar to what we experienced on the 5th and the 6th, the entire value chain is impacted one way or the other. Yes, certainly there's been a breakage in what is systematic and expected every month. But what I said to you now, I picked on that issue. But the good news is, as we speak, where we stand, according to our records, every grant beneficiary has their money in their account. So for those that are still going to the post office, we really do advise them, Charlie, to take advantage of our other existing channels, especially the retailers that have been really pushing the numbers, and the ATMs, any bank ATM, because the SASSA card is interoperable. You can use it like any other bank card. Wherever a bank card is accepted, the SASSA card really does function.
So just to understand, we understand that Postbank is a subsidiary of the post office, right? Are they held
No,
in...
no, no. We separate entities. Actually, we no longer
And do you...
part
Oh, I
of the
see.
post office. We've been spun off in our process of applying for a banking license to be a standalone entity and a state bank.
So is Postbank, are they housed in completely separate venues to post offices?
Well, you would imagine the process of debundling really does take time. We're in the process now of having our own head office. We still rely pretty much on the post office network for our customer service points. But as part of our channel strategy, we'll be launching our new channels where we really do envisage that the customers that depend on Postbank will get enhanced services. The retailers, for an example, are one of our additional channels.
So you can kind of understand why people go to the post office, because they know that historically it was a subsidiary, now it's spun off and it's its own entity, but you don't actually have post banks, you know, in separate venues. So people logically go, well, I'm linked to Postbank, let me go to the post office. It actually makes a lot of sense. You're saying actually your post office is not your best place to go to.
No, that's not what we're saying, Sally. We're saying, given the incident we experienced last week, really a lot of the value chain has been impacted, because there's a ripple effect effectively. Once people start not getting a service at a particular point that they are used to, you get misplacements, right? That's what happened at this point, where people would naturally go to an ATM, attempt a transaction, and if it fails, they'll try the retailer. If it fails, then the most natural place where you can then sit and look at the physical infrastructure, and for historical reasons, you are correct, would be the post office. But we've checked, we've been scoping on a daily basis and are scoping on the ground, and we focused mostly in areas where we knew we had large numbers of reversals, and the feedback we were getting was that there are no longer queues at the post offices. The queues that are at the retailers are successful transactions, and
So
similarly
that's your best bet.
with the queues at
I
the
have to ask you one last question. Has Postbank, and I don't have time for a long explanation, I don't even know if it's necessary, but has Postbank really got to the heart of what went wrong? And how confident are you that payments for grants are going to be made in October? Because people on the ground are scared they're not going to get October now.
The heart of the issue is a post-migration issue, right? We've gotten to the bottom of it. We don't envisage that we would be experiencing a similar incident that we regret having put our people through come the next payment, Sally.
All right, so must people go to, for October, where must people best go to? Not to the post office?
SASSA every month issues out the dates when the grants are being paid. The available channels for collecting SASSA grants are the ATMs, the retailers, and post office branches. Those channels are still there for beneficiaries' use come the next payments, and until anything changes, which will then communicate publicly, Sally.
All right, thank you very much for that update. That, of course, is Dr. Bongani Diako, his spokesperson for Postbank, telling us that really most people have received their payments. We, of course, have got a few people who have not, and he's saying it's not your best option to go to the post office. It's actually much better to go to a retailer. It seems their systems are perhaps more effective or more used to these payments. Even to an ATM, you can use your SASSA card there. And he says they, and I'm quoting him, they don't envisage a similar problem in October. I was hoping for absolutely not, this will never happen again, but he said they do not envisage that this is going to happen again. So hopefully it's all smooth sailing from here. Do stay with